Okay, we're back on this train again. Let it sit overnight. I put a little Loctite down here on top of the stud to help seal it. So I use some of this capillary action stuff here. So it'll soak in, and hopefully if there's any voids in there, you go in there and fill it up. And then whatever's left over, like there's right there, just wipe it off. Should be good to go. A lot of times I'll put JB weld across the top of the stud hole and let it sit for a day or two when I have more time. So I didn't do that. I didn't see that hole was open. I'll put some back there too. A lot of times the oil leaks in these trains are coming through these stud holes, so gotta be careful. All right, so we get all this stuff all cleaned up. So the next thing is we gotta deal with this bearing race. So we're gonna have to deal with this gear, the thrust washer, and the shaft. We got up some missing parts. So we got some nuts, some locks, some snap rings, and these are a bunch of different seals to choose from that we're going to need to put this thing together. And I got the sealed nut and the block off plate too, and the sleeve piece, which we'll have to modify. Alright, so I got a few parts and pieces. I also got some screws, which are in here, that we're missing for our door. So I got some that are marked bumper plate and some that are just not marked. They're different length. The bumper plate is this piece right over here for the kicker. This here is not real thick in here, but it's thick enough you could probably put a long screw in there. This is definitely thick here. So I got a long and a short screw. This is the short one here. This is the long one there. The one that came out of the tranny was a long one. There's this one here. So I'll put the long ones in here. Oop, like that. And this is 1/4 24 thread, which is the same screw that goes up on top lid here. So technically you could have used this screw right here also in your plate. But it sticks up a little higher than everything else, which probably is not really a big problem, but it does stick up. Whereas these ones are more flush. See? That one versus this one, same hole. So this one sticks up higher. Not a lot higher, but it does stick up a little higher. So technically you can use this screw here. And this screw is a 65 and later screw, not the 64 and earlier. 64 and earlier has less of an angle. This one's closer to 90, it's probably 82. The other one is less. It's the same angle as this one over here, which is a lot steeper. If you look at the two different angles here, they are different between those two. This one here is steeper than that one. And that they changed in 65 on the lid. So that's how you tell which lid you have. Early lids have a smaller diameter hole right here on the top because the head's smaller diameter. They also have, these switches came out in 62 up here. I think there was, no, excuse me, 59 that came out. 59. Alright, 62 is when it changes speedo. Again. Alright, so first thing I do is check our fit on this. I already know it's loose, so I don't have to deal with it. But if I had to hone it or replace the bush, you know, whatever I was going to do, you would do that now. This one here, we're not doing that because the whole tranny is used. So we'll look at the clearance we have on here. Can you hear it? And if you look inside of here, you can see it on the bushing. You look in there, you can see it a little bit. This one's loose, but it's okay. Now the seal that goes on there, a little small seal here. When these walk back and forth, it eats the seal up and gets hard, and when it gets all beat out, even though there's a spring behind it, when it gets all beat out, it leaves a gap every time it moves back and forth and starts puking oil out of it. The later seal is a lot bigger seal, which is this one. See the difference in width. It also has a secondary lip on the outside to keep dirt out. So this seal here has more flexibility than this one here. Not a lot, but a little bit. So anyway, this seal is a little bit better than this one. But they both have issues. But the later bike has a needle bearing it doesn't wear like this bushing does. That's why 5 speeds don't leak as much as 4 speeds. One of the reasons. Here's another one. Okay. So we already know this is good to go right here, so we don't have to deal with this. So now we just got to deal with our seal. We're going to pick out our seal. So here's our different seals. Excuse me. So we have a 12013A. We got 12022. And they look the same. We got different manufacturers. This is the later seal, which is a 12035 5-speed seal. And these seals all seem to be about the same, but they vary a few thou in diameter. Some are ground on the OD, like this one here is ground. Some are not. That doesn't mean it's smaller, it just means some are made differently than others. See, these ones here are ground, these ones here are not. So this one here was supposed to be 125 to 1258 on the OD. This one I didn't write it down on this ticket. I've written it down before in other ones. But they hardly went from back and forth on these things, which ones are which. So this one here is 85 to 90, 5-speed. Late 66 to 84, 4-speed. This one over here is late 66 to 81. And it's a different part number. Can't be the same. It's mismarked. One of these fits the 60. As I recall, the 85 to 95 speed is the one that's 665 to early 66. And then 66 to 81 or 84, whatever hell year it is. 84 is the other one. They overlap. So these tags I wrote wrong, but they all fit. It's just a matter of how much compression's on that seal when you put it in the hole. So the bigger the OD is, the more pressure you got. Also, the better chance of destroying the seal when it goes in. And there needs to be a little bit of a lip right here, not a sharp edge. If this seal catches on that sharp edge at all, when you push it in, it just rolls up. It's junk. You want to compress and go in. If you try to put it on the bike, it's really difficult to do because it usually goes in sideways and catches the edge and screws it out. If you have the nut on here, it squeezes it down, makes it even tighter. It's just about impossible to put a seal in there with a nut on it. And if you're in the bike, what you do is you get a long tube to go and you beat in with a tube. And that tube is easily laying in the drawer here somewhere. This one. It's right on the outside edge of that. It goes over the shaft here. Like that. Beats it in. Piece of PVC works also. If you don't have a tube, it cocks on you a little bit and you lose a seal. I use a hydraulic press which pushes in even, so it's not as big of an issue. But it's still an issue. What are we doing? Switching the hoses over there. Okay. I'll just put on top of the hose on this side. Here we go. Okay, let's see what we got for seals here. That one came out of that bag. That one came out of that bag. And I got 3 that came out of this bag. These seals will vary up to 4 thou, I think. So if you have a problem putting one in, put a smaller one. Okay, so theoretically, we're 1247, which is 1.246, 246, 2465, 246, 247 there. Seal, 255. That's 9 thousandths compressing. Pretty good compression. This one's 56. Yep, there's 55 on that one. 55 and a half. So now these are measuring the same diameter. This one's 57. 55 there, throughout round. These are ground OD. This is not. $55, 55, 56. So these are a little bit bigger than the other one. These ones would be nice to use these. These are 264. You ain't putting these in there. 20 thou compression ain't gonna happen. That's why you can't use a late seal. Alright, I think I'm going to go with one of these. I think I'm just going to put this one in there and call it done. That's the smallest one I got. Probably should keep that for somebody important. This one's measuring 57 right there. 56. This is a big one. Let's go put this one in. It's got the most, it'll be the hardest one to put in. Alright, so put that in there. I have a special tool. Let's see if I can figure out where it's at. Oh, I remember. Special tool. Other drawer. Nope, that ain't it. That was over here. No, it is over here. My drawer's all mixed up from how it used to be. Harder to find stuff. Everything's all mixed up. Moved around. There's the tool I'm looking for. Right down there. There it is. So this has a 50 thou undercut right here, so it compresses into the gear a little bit. So it fits inside the gear here. So it puts the seal below the surface. Sometimes that gets you in trouble. So first I go down flush, then I can flip it over and go down 50 thou more if I want. Depending on what it, if the seal's really close to this bushing on the inside, you don't go deeper. If you got the 50 thou clearance, you go in deeper. But it's 50-50. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Just a matter of how they made the gear. So don't always go by what the book says. The book says go in 50 thou below the surface. If the seal hits against the inside of the shoulder in there, the seal doesn't work. So don't go too deep. Hey, looking at me. Alright, so I'm going to put it in like that. Put in flush. Spacer block. Remember, you want the seal to go in flat. So it's going to go and pop in all at once. Right there. Maybe. Didn't get a plop noise there. It went in though. So this one's in flush. And if you look at the seal, there's no room to go in any deeper. It's close to the inside edge already. So you don't have room to go in deeper. So don't go in 50 thou deeper. Stop at flush. Otherwise the seal won't work at all. We want the seal to work. Alright. Oh, bringing extra parts with me. Okay. It's back in the drawer. Lose it. Put back there where it belongs so I can find it later. Okay. Don't need that no more. So I put the 12/022 seal in there. Okay, now we'll make sure this goes in there nice and easy. No binding. Definitely has a lot of seal drag on that. I think it's more than it should have on it. I wonder if it's too close to that edge in there. I'm not feeling much compressibility of that rubber. I don't know. Feels a little heavier than it should be. Put a little oil on there, make it easier to go in and off. Definitely has drag on it, right there. Seal's doing its job. See over here I can feel the seal compressing a little bit. Over here I don't feel it quite as much. It's more firm on this side for some reason. Not sure why it's doing that. Should be able to feel the springing action all the time, but it does go on there. Seems to be working. That's all that matters. I know it's not against the shoulder because I can see it. It's close, but it's not next to it. Okay, we'll go with that. Buffer oil. Alright, so now this is ready to go in there and start fitting up the bearings. So when you get cleaned up, we'll be right back.